Hey, how's it going? Uzexabodi here on El Haluf in the T-3485. This is a Tier 7 battle. Each team has 3 Tier 7s. I am platooned up with Ace, Highlander, and Iron Maiden. As the battle starts, I'm heading on up to the northwestern section of the map. That's where all the big heavy tanks usually go to fight it on out. Because if you don't have a good scout in the valley, you're not going to get too much done. But anyways, I'm heading on up to the northwestern right now. Try to head off the enemies as they get to the corner. As you see, the T-3485 is able to get across the battlefield fairly quickly, able to outrun your own team or even the red team for holding a strategic spot on the map until reinforcements show up. I will be getting to this corner fairly quickly and able to be in a defensive position waiting for the team to show up. Now here is one of the disadvantages of this tank. It doesn't really have good gun depression, so in order to get to this corner and hold it pretty decently, I have to jiggle around on the hill in order to get the gun on down. Now that my platoon is caught on up with me, I'm able to really just move on forward to see what I can do. There was a Sherman that just got spotted in the hill down below me, and I'm going to go ahead and move into position to see if I can get some shots in. But yet again, because of the lack of gun depression on this tank, I'm not able to shoot the Sherman from this point. So I can't really focus on the Sherman too much. I move on forward, and a T-25 shows up. He shoots and he misses, and he starts to back away. I move to pursue, only to see that a Stug 3 is sitting there waiting for me to get to the top. So I hold off, try to get him to shoot so I can get on up there and shoot him, but he falls on back. Now this is not a really good place to really hold back. Artillery shell just missed my tank. Artillery is focusing in on this point, so we really have to be pushing through as fast as possible. So the Stug 3 and the KV-1S is wanting to fall on back. There will be another shell. Artillery shell just missed my tank again. So me and Highlander is going to be pushing forward to see what we can try to accomplish here. Highlander just rushes on down the hill. I move forward, putting shot into the T-25. He circles around and kills the Stug, and he's still pursuing after the KV-1S. I put a shot in on his fuel tank, and then the second shot goes into the T-25. The KV-1S takes out Highlander. I back on up to see if I can get some cover between me and the KV-1S. Iron Maiden moves in with his D-Max. We do take out the KV-1S, and I sit here waiting for the T-25 to show back up. And artillery is aiming in, and he misses me once again. That is the third artillery shell that missed me. I shoot the T-25, taking out his gun, and then he backs on away. I don't want to really pursue him right at this moment because I'm afraid that I might just jump right on out into enemy fire. So I'm waiting for the T-25 to peek out again, but he does not. After a bit of time of waiting, I decide to go after the kill on that T-25. I round the corner, only to find nobody there. So then I go ahead and pursue after the T-29. Now I can't just sit here and put shot after shot into the engine deck of the T-29 because the hill campers behind me could be shooting at me. So I move on forward to circle around the T-29. T-29 lands a shot on me by accident. The T-25 AT shoots me as well, taking out my fuel tanks. I circle around the T-25 AT, putting another shot right into his track. Then he starts running away. And right about this time, the T-25 shows back up with a Hellcat in tow. The T-25 AT comes around the corner, and I take aim at the Hellcat, putting a shot right into his side. Then I decide, go ahead and pursue after them. Teammate takes out the T-25. I come around the corner, taking aim at the Hellcat, and my shot lands right in the air under carriage. So I pass by the Hellcat, taking aim at the AT-25, taking the kill at that point. Now at this point of the battle, there's only 2 tanks left. It is a KV-3 and an M44 artillery. I decided to go straight for the artillery, and the artillery is only giving me hints of where he's at by each time he misses my tank. He takes aim, he shoots, and it misses me. I know he's going to be in the upper corner of the map, so I'm going to head and pursue in that corner. While I'm passing by the KV-3, I do take aim and shoot on the move, only to hit his track, whereas Iron Maiden soon after hits him with a tracking hit. It gives me a little bit of tracking damage. I'm going across the village right now, closing in on the artillery's position. So the race is on right now to try to get the kill on this artillery. Me and a T-49 is closing in on this artillery. T-49 is closing in from the south, whereas I am going straight over this hill to see if I can get a nice kill on this guy. I peek the hill, take aim, shoot it a little bit early, take a shot right in the front end of my tank, taking out my driver. The T-49 is coming around the corner. He circles around the artillery. I take aim while I can see a little bit of the tank, take shot, taking out half of his health, and the T-49 takes the kill. That was a nice game on El Haluf and the T-3485. The next battle I have for you is a Tier 6 high battle on Arlingberg. I'm still in the T-3485. As the battle starts, I head on down to the western flank. My plan is to go on down to the southern bridge and see what I can spot out, and maybe even cross the bridge if I have the chance. Now the Russian tanks are not too fond of playing scout or even keeping a good communication line to all the tanks on the battlefield, because the optics are not too impressive on Russian tanks and their radio communication does kind of lack. I will be losing communication with our artillery later on in the battle because I will be getting on the other side of the map and he will just disappear off the radar. But anyways, I'm getting on over to this southern hill to see what I can spot on out. As I get to the top of the hill, I do make first contact with enemy Hellcat. He's able to spot me out fairly quickly since I don't have camouflage on this tank. I back on up to try to get in a defensive position to put a shot back in on him, and enemy artillery hits me, knocking out my commander. Now with the commander knocked out, I am really handicapped on how far I can see, so I will be using the first aid kit to get my commander back in action. I put a shot in on the Hellcat, knocking out his track. With the Hellcat knocked on out, I move in position to see what else I can do. Now the M8A1 and the T14 are being a bit disruptive in chat, so I decide to go ahead and mute them out. And then I move on down to see if I can support the T1 Heavy. He's moving across the southern fields right now, and so I go ahead and try to support him the best way I can. There is a VK 3601 over toward the river. He's holding the river pretty decently, but we'll see how he holds up to a T1 Heavy and a T-3485. As I get to the top of the hill, I take aim, shooting him right in the front of the hull. He backs on up and heads for the water. I take another shot, but it deflects off the side of the tank. And I'm watching from this point of view as to see if I can put any more shots in. I do some tracking damage, and he heads straight for the water. At this point, I kind of figured he's just going to drown himself. There was a KV-1S that was closing in on him, so if he didn't kill himself, the KV-1S would have finished him off. Now I start to see that there's nothing else going on over here, so I go straight across the river and heading straight for the enemy artillery. which I do think is over in the southwestern part of the map. Now with the Russian tanks, they do require a lot of team cooperation to work out, because right here in a second I will be losing contact with the friendly artillery. He disappears right now. Because my radio is not good enough to keep in constant contact with him, so anything that he sees on his screen I will not be able to see on my screen, and vice versa. But now if any one of the tanks around me are able to spot somebody, then he will be able to see those tanks. At this part of the battle, I do think I'm going to see the artillery, but he's not right here. I do get spotted out, and there he is right next to the castle, and that's where the shot actually came from that knocked out my commander. So I take aim, missing the first shot, hitting the second shot, and a KV-1 takes the kill. Now as friendlies are closing in on the castle, I do see an SAU-40. He appears to be AFK, so I decide to close on in to see if I can put any damage on him. As around the corner, I thought I was going to be able to get some ramming damage in here, but the T-14 takes the kill. And the T-3485 here doesn't seem to notice me back here, so my first shot takes his ammo rack out. My second shot hits him right in the rear. My third shot goes for the turret, and he still doesn't really respond to me being back here, so I decide to put shot after shot here until somebody takes the kill. Right now is the closing minutes of the battle, where a T-34 and a KV-1 are all that's left on the battlefield. I decide I should go ahead and just throw caution to the wind and go straight for the KV-1 for a ram kill. So I line up my approach, take aim, fire right into the rear end, ramming his side, taking out his tracks. I take aim for the side of the turret, but realize his turret is a bit too strong for my tank. Somebody takes the kill and saves me. That's the end of the battle there, and the last battles of my T-3485, since I gained enough experience to get the next tank.